Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The first thing that jolted me awake wasn't sound. It was closeness, the kind that bends the air, the kind you feel before you understand it. His breath hovered near the back of my neck, warm enough to blur my thoughts. The room was dark, except for the streetlight slipping through the blinds, slicing thin silver lines across the bed. My sheets shifted, barely, like someone had brushed against them with intention or hesitation. I didn't move. Not yet. Sometimes stillness reveals more than motion. There was a pause behind me, too long to be accidental. His fingers grazed my hip, a soft, questioning touch, as if he was testing whether I was awake or dreaming or willing to pretend I was either. My body tensed in that quiet, electric way you can't control, and the breath he released against my shoulder was low and shaky, betraying more than he ever said out loud. He whispered my name. Not the casual version people toss around in daylight, but the slower one. The one he only used when he forgot to hide whatever he kept buried. It rippled through the dark like a secret breaking free. I turned slightly, not enough to face him, but enough to feel the barely there brush of his chest against my back. His hand stilled at my waist. He wasn't pulling me closer, but he wasn't pulling away either, caught in that fragile pause where one wrong move changes everything. "Are you awake?" he murmured. My throat tightened. If I answered, the moment would shape itself. If I stayed silent, it might dissolve. But silence has its own language. He shifted again, breath catching, fingers curling just lightly into the fabric of my sleepwear. Not bold, not innocent, something in between, something trembling. Something that felt like a first step taken in the dark without knowing where the floor ends. The room grew too warm, too quiet. Even the night outside seemed to hold its breath. He exhaled near my ear, soft and unsteady, as if waiting for a signal I hadn't decided to give. My name left his lips again, almost a plea this time. And then he moved closer, just enough to make my pulse stumble. Just enough to make me wonder what line we were about to cross. Just enough that the next second could change everything. The darkness didn't ease after that moment. It thickened, like the room understood what neither of us dared to say. His body hovered behind mine, warm enough to trap me between wanting to lean back and forcing myself to stay still. His fingers, still resting at my waist, flexed slightly, not pulling, not releasing. Just thinking, as if even his touch needed courage. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. The words trembled through the small space between us, brushing my neck before settling somewhere deeper. His breath grazed my shoulder, and for a second, I forgot how to breathe at all. My heartbeat betrayed me, tapping far too loudly in the silence. I shifted just enough that the curve of my back met the line of his chest. A slow inhale answered me sharp, surprised, almost hungry. His hand slid a fraction higher, tracing the fabric of my sleep shirt with a touch that felt accidental but lingered too long to be innocent. He wasn't supposed to be here. Not this close. Not saying my name like that. But neither of us moved away. His forehead touched the back of my head, just gently, as if he wanted to see whether I'd pull away. Instead, I felt myself tipping backward an inch more, drawn by something I didn't have the strength to name. He exhaled shakily. "I shouldn't be this close." He said it, but he didn't move. His thumb brushed my ribs, a barely there sweep that made my breath hitch. Then another, slower this time, testing, learning. My fingers curled into the blanket, anchoring me when my body felt suddenly too light. I turned slightly, enough to catch a glimpse of him in the silver stripes of streetlight. His eyes were lowered, lashes trembling, mouth parted as if he was swallowing words he didn't trust himself to say. "Look at me," he whispered. When I did, Something inside him fractured the careful restraint he always wore around me, thinning to something rawer, more reckless. His hand grazed my stomach, the gentlest slide, and my breath slipped out before I could catch it. His gaze flicked to my lips. Mine dropped to his. The tension tightened, low and undeniable, wrapping around us like a second set of sheets. "Say something," he breathed. But the room answered with silence. Heavy, loaded, ready to ignite. And neither of us stepped back. The air between us felt sharp now, like a wire stretched too tight. One wrong breath and it would snap. He didn't touch me at first. He just watched eyes traveling over my face with a kind of aching hesitation, as if he was afraid that wanting too much would break something neither of us could fix. His hand hovered near my stomach, close enough that the warmth of it bled through the thin fabric, but he didn't claim the space. "Not yet." "You're shaking," he whispered. "I'm not," I murmured, though my breath told another story entirely. My chest rose too quickly, too unevenly, and his eyes followed the movement like it pulled him in. He inched closer, slow enough to give me time to stop him. I didn't. His nose brushed the edge of my cheek, a ghost of a touch. Almost a kiss, almost a confession, almost a disaster. He drew in a breath that trembled at the end. "Why don't you push me away?" I didn't answer. Silence gave too much away. His fingers drifted upward, tracing the line of my side with careful restraint, like touching me too firmly might shatter the moment. I felt every millimeter he passed, each second stretched thin, each breath catching in my throat. "I keep telling myself this is a terrible idea," he said quietly. His words landed against my skin like warm embers. "And yet," I whispered. "And yet I'm still here." His forehead pressed gently to mine, soft but urgent, like he needed the contact to steady himself. His breath mingled with mine, warm and uneven, making the space between our mouths dangerously small. His hand slid behind my back, not pulling me in, just holding me there gently, almost reverently. The trembling in his fingers betrayed him, though he tried to hide it. "You feel that, right?" he murmured. "What?" "This, whatever is happening." His lips hovered so close to mine I could feel the shape of every word. The tension gathered again, thick and breathless, curling through the dark like heat rising from the floorboards. My pulse thudded hard, too loud in my own ears. His thumb brushed my spine, soft but desperate. "We shouldn't," I whispered. His response came in a low, broken breath. "But tell me you don't want to." I couldn't. And the silence that followed was louder than any confession. He leaned in. Close. Closer. Right to the edge of losing control, everything in the room seemed to tilt when he leaned in the light, the air, even the beating under my ribs. His breath brushed my lips, warm and uneven, and it felt like he was waiting for something neither of us had the courage to name. He didn't kiss me. He didn't have to. The almost was already burning. His hand cupped the side of my waist, steady but trembling, like he was holding on to a moment that could slip away with one wrong move. I felt the tension in his grip, the restraint running through his arms like a pulse of its own. "I'm not thinking clearly," he whispered. "Neither am I." The confession slipped out before I could catch it. His eyes flickered heat, fear, something reckless threading through the dark. He swallowed hard, jaw tightening for a second, as if fighting with himself. Then his fingers traced the small of my back, slow, deliberate, a quiet question disguised as touch. My breath hitched. He heard it. His eyes darkened. His forehead touched mine again. The gentlest collision of two people trying not to give in but sinking anyway. His hand moved up my spine, each inch a careful gamble, each stroke soft enough to deny but bold enough to betray. "You're going to ruin me," he breathed. I almost laughed weak, breathless because the truth stung sharper. He already was. He angled his face nearer. The tip of his nose grazed my cheek, then paused, as if waiting for gravity to decide for us. I felt the warmth of his mouth hovering over my skin, close enough that every breath was a promise. My fingers curled into the fabric of his shirt. I didn't even realize I'd grabbed him until he drew in a sharp breath, soft but startled, like my touch had undone whatever restraint he had left. He exhaled shakily, lips drifting toward my jaw, stopping a whisper short, a slow, dangerous orbit around a moment he was terrified to enter. "Tell me to step back," he said, voice cracking at the edges. I didn't move. His hand slid up, cupping the back of my neck now. Not forceful. Guiding. Asking. His lips hovered near my ear, the warmth of them trembling with the words he didn't quite dare to speak. "Because if I take one more breath this close to you, I won't be able to stop." The room held still. The night leaned in. The moment teetered on the edge, ready to break open. And neither of us pulled away. The moment was seconds away from breaking open. His mouth hovered at my ear, warm enough to steal my balance. My grip on his shirt tightened, pulling him closer without meaning to. His breath shuddered, and the sound went straight through me. One more inch. One more breath. We both knew. His hand slid up my spine again. Slow and certain this time. No more hesitation. There was nothing accidental now. His fingers curled at the nape of my neck, and I felt him lean in. And that's when it happened. A sharp knock rattled the door. He froze. The world slammed to a halt so fast the air itself seemed to recoil. His hand stayed at my neck, but it went rigid. His breath caught mid-exhale, warm lips still grazing my cheek. The closeness suddenly too loud, too risky. The knock came again firm, impatient. He whispered, "You're kidding me." I didn't move. I couldn't. The shock held my body hostage, the heat of him pressed against my back while reality clawed its way into the room. Another knock. This one closer to a demand. He pulled back an inch, only an inch, but even that tiny distance felt like the room had gone cold. His fingers slid from my neck to my shoulder, staying there as if he wasn't ready to let go. His forehead rested against the back of my head, both of us breathing too hard for the silence we were suddenly trapped in. "Who is that?" he whispered. I shook my head. My voice wouldn't obey me. A phone buzzed. Not mine. He reached to silence it, but when the screen lit up, I caught the name. Not a friend, not a coworker, a woman. His entire posture shifted, shoulders tight, jaw clenched, eyes flicking away from mine. He turned the phone face down too quickly, as if he didn't want me to see more than a name. I felt a hollow drop in my stomach. The knock stopped. The hallway fell silent again. But something between us had cracked. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling in a thin, strained breath. "It's complicated," he murmured. That word hung between us like smoke. I pulled the blanket around myself, suddenly aware of every inch of space between us that shouldn't have been there in the first place. His gaze flicked to me, guilty, desperate, wanting. A storm of emotion he couldn't shape into words. "Say something," he whispered. I didn't. I couldn't. Because something in me already knew. Whatever we almost crossed was about to drag us deeper than we planned. He reached for my hand slowly, almost apologetic, his fingers trembling before they touched mine. "I wasn't supposed to feel this," he said. The confession wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It tightened the air all over again. Because even with that knock, that name, that fracture, he didn't step back. Not even a little. And for the first time, neither did I. To be continued. The silence after his confession wasn't quiet. It buzzed. He was still holding my hand, barely the tips of his fingers trembling against mine, as if he was afraid even a gentle touch might collapse whatever was left between us. His phone lay face down on the bed, a small, glowing bruise in the dark. The name on it lingered in my mind like a taste I couldn't rinse out. I pulled my hand back, slow, careful. He let it slip away, but his eyes didn't. "Don't shut me out," he said, voice raw, stripped of all the playful arrogance he usually carried. His breath hitched, the sound too honest, too intimate. "Not after everything." "You should go," I whispered. He flinched, actually flinched, like the words hit him somewhere soft. His jaw tightened, and for a moment I thought he might stand, might leave, might do the sensible thing. Instead, he moved closer, not boldly, not recklessly, just helplessly. His hand braced beside my hip as he leaned in, his forehead pressing to mine with a desperation he didn't bother to hide. His breath was warm, uneven, brushing my mouth every time he exhaled. The closeness was unbearable, painful, addictive. "You think that name means anything?" he whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't trust my voice. His fingers slid to my jaw, cupping it gently, thumb brushing my cheek as if he was memorizing the shape of hesitation. The heat of his palm sent a shiver up my spine. "I tried," he said quietly. "I really tried to keep distance, but you keep pulling me in without even noticing." My pulse stuttered once, twice, then raced. He leaned closer. Too close. His lips grazed the corner of my mouth, barely a breath of contact, but enough to break something inside me. "What do you want from me?" I managed. His answer was a trembling whisper against my skin. "Everything I shouldn't." The room tilted, heat rushing between us like the air itself was surrendering. His hand slid to the back of my neck, pulling me into the gravity of him. The moment cracked wide open, breath tangled, bodies too close, restraint unraveling thread by thread. Just when it felt inevitable, when one more heartbeat would have ended the distance, his phone buzzed again. Louder, longer, insistent. This time, he didn't ignore it. He looked at me, eyes stormed with guilt and desire, then flipped the phone over. The name wasn't the same. This one said, "Emergency, call me now." The moment shattered. The night split in two. And everything we'd built on the edge came crashing down. He stared at the screen as if the word emergency had ripped the air out of the room. His breath faltered. The fire between us flickered but didn't go out. He wasn't touching me anymore. Yet the ghost of his hands stayed on my skin, like heat trapped under memory. "I have to go," he whispered, voice breaking in a way I'd never heard before. I nodded. It was all I could manage. He stood slowly, as if pulling himself away cost more than he'd ever admit. At the doorway, he paused, fingers gripping the frame so tightly his knuckles went pale. He looked back at me, messy, breathless, torn. "This isn't over," he said. "Not a promise, not a threat, something in between." The door clicked shut. Silence settled, warm and bruised. My heart thudded hard against my ribs, still shaped by the night, by his closeness, by the line we almost crossed and the questions we never answered. His warmth lingered on the sheets. His whisper clung to my throat. And the moment that dangerous, fragile, almost hovered in the air like a spark waiting for its second chance. Because he was right. It wasn't over. And we both knew it.